Good morning slash afternoon slash evening, everyone. Have you ever looked at someone and thought, how do they stay so calm? How does nothing seem to bother them? The truth is, they aren't immune to struggles or negativity. They've simply mastered the art of resilience. We often think of strength as having a tough exterior, being unshaken, unbothered, and immune to pain. Society has taught us that vulnerability is a weakness, that showing emotions makes us fragile, and that if we want to be truly strong, we must suppress our feelings and toughen up. But what if I told you that the opposite is true? That real strength isn't about hiding your emotions, but about embracing them. That the most powerful people aren't those who feel nothing, but those who allow themselves to feel everything and still move forward. Vulnerability is the courage to show up and be seen even when we're scared. It's admitting when we're hurt rather than pretending we're fine. It's acknowledging when something affects us rather than brushing it off and letting it fester inside. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we take control of our emotions instead of letting them control us. Think about it. When you suppress your feelings, they don't just disappear. They build up inside you like pressure in a dam. You may think you're keeping it together, but eventually the cracks start to show. Maybe it's an unexpected outburst of anger, a moment of overwhelming sadness, or a lingering sense of emptiness that you can't explain. Pretending that things don't affect you doesn't make you strong. It makes you a ticking time bomb. But when you embrace vulnerability, something shifts. Instead of bottling things up, you give yourself permission to process them. You acknowledge what's happening inside you, which allows you to move through your emotions rather than getting stuck in them. And here's the powerful part. When you do this, you become unshakable. Why? Because the things that once controlled you no longer have the same power. When you face your emotions head on, they lose their grip on you. Vulnerability also allows for deeper connections. The strongest relationships, whether friendships, family bonds, or romantic partnerships, are built on honesty and openness. When we hide our struggles, we isolate ourselves. But when we allow ourselves to be seen, we create space for genuine connection. Imagine someone you admire, a mentor, a leader, a close friend. Chances are they're not someone who pretends to be perfect. They're someone who shares their struggles, learns from them, and grows. That's because vulnerability fosters trust and authenticity. People respect those who are real, not those who are flawless. Let's not forget that some of the most resilient people in history were vulnerable. They admitted their fears, their doubts, and their failures. And yet they pushed forward. They didn't let their struggles define them. They used them as fuel to become stronger. So if you truly want to act like nothing disturbs you anymore, don't suppress your emotions. Own them. Let them teach you. Let them make you wiser. True strength is not in pretending to be unaffected. It's in knowing that you can face whatever comes your way and still stand tall. Because when you embrace vulnerability, you stop being afraid of being hurt. And when you stop being afraid, nothing can truly disturb you anymore. One of the most powerful ways to act like nothing disturbs you anymore is by setting firm boundaries. Without guilt, without over-explaining, and without feeling like you owe anyone an apology for protecting your peace. Yet for so many of us, setting boundaries feels uncomfortable. We worry about disappointing others, being seen as selfish, or even losing relationships. But the truth is, without boundaries, you open yourself up to exhaustion, resentment, and emotional chaos. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They are about defining what is and isn't acceptable in your life. They create the space necessary for you to thrive without being drained by the demands and expectations of others. When you don't set boundaries, people will assume they can treat you however they want, take from you without giving back, and push your limits simply because you haven't made them clear. Why we struggle with boundaries. Many of us were raised to believe that saying no is rude, or that we should always put others before ourselves. We associate setting boundaries with being mean or unkind. But here's something to remember. Kindness does not mean self-sacrifice. You can be a caring, loving, and generous person while still having firm limits. In fact, the people who truly respect you will also respect your boundaries. The ones who don't, they were only benefiting from your lack of them. We also struggle with guilt. We fear that if we say no, we'll hurt someone's feelings, let them down, or seem like we don't care. But here's an important mindset shift. You are not responsible for how other people react to your boundaries. You are responsible for honoring your own well-being. If someone takes offense to your limits, that's their issue, not yours. The power of saying no without explaining. Many times when we try to set a boundary, we over-explain ourselves. We feel like we have to justify why we can't attend an event, why we don't want to do someone a favor, or why we need space. But here's the thing. No is a complete sentence. You do not owe anyone a detailed explanation. Instead of saying, I really wish I could, but I've just been so busy, and I don't want to let you down, and I feel terrible about it, but I just don't think I can. Try saying, I won't be able to make it, but I hope you have a great time. See the difference? One invites guilt and leaves room for negotiation. The other is clear, firm, and leaves no space for argument. Boundaries are about self-respect. When you set boundaries, you are teaching people how to treat you. If you constantly let people walk over you, they will continue to do so. But when you stand firm in your limits, you show them that your time, energy, and peace are valuable. Imagine this. You have a phone with a limited battery. If you spend all day taking calls, replying to texts, and using apps, without ever plugging it in, your phone will eventually die. Your energy is the same way. If you keep giving and giving without recharging, you will burn out. Setting boundaries is your way of plugging yourself back in. Types of boundaries. You need to set boundaries. Aren't just about saying no to social events. They exist in different areas of your life. Emotional boundaries. You are not responsible for fixing other people's emotions. It's okay to support someone, but not at the expense of your own well-being. Time boundaries. Your time is valuable. Don't let people guilt you into commitments that drain you. Energy boundaries. Protect yourself from toxic people, negativity, and energy-draining conversations. Work boundaries. Your job should not consume your entire life. Don't be afraid to log off, take breaks, and prioritize yourself. Physical boundaries. You have the right to say no to physical touch or closeness that makes you uncomfortable. Boundaries do not require approval. Some people won't like your boundaries, especially if they benefited from your lack of them. They may call you selfish, distant, or difficult. But remember, you don't need their approval. Their discomfort with your boundaries is not your responsibility. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to seek approval. As children, we crave praise from our parents and teachers. As teenagers, we want to fit in with our peers. As adults, we measure our worth based on how others perceive us. Our appearance, achievements, popularity, and even social media presence. We spend so much time chasing external validation that we forget to ask ourselves the most important question: do I approve of myself? The need for validation is deeply ingrained in human nature. We are social beings who want to be accepted and appreciated. But there is a difference between healthy validation and living for validation. When we tie our self-worth to what others think, we give them control over our happiness. Their opinions become the deciding factor in whether we feel good about ourselves. And that is a dangerous place to be. Why external validation is a trap. Relying on external validation is like chasing a moving target. What people admire today, they might criticize tomorrow. One moment they celebrate you, the next they judge you. If your confidence is built on their approval, your self-esteem will constantly rise and fall based on factors beyond your control. Here's the truth. No matter what you do, someone will always have an opinion. You could be the kindest, most hardworking person, and someone will still find a reason to criticize you. So why waste your energy trying to please people who will never be fully satisfied? The cost of living for approval. When you live for external validation, you start making choices based on what will impress others rather than what aligns with your values. You might stay in a job you hate because it looks good on paper. Post things on social media just to get likes rather than because they truly reflect who you are. Say yes to things you don't want to do because you fear disappointing others. Hide your struggles because you want to appear strong or perfect. This way of living is exhausting. It's a never-ending cycle of performance, constantly adjusting yourself to fit other people's expectations. But here's the thing, the moment you stop chasing validation, you set yourself free. How to detach from external validation. Recognize that people's opinions are a reflection of them, not you. Most of the time when people judge you, it has more to do with their own insecurities and biases than it does with you. If someone criticizes your choices, it's often because they are projecting their own fears or limitations onto you. When you understand this, you stop taking things personally. Define your own standards of success. What does success mean to you? Not to society, not to your family, not to your friends, just you. If you don't define your own standards, you will always feel like you're falling short of someone else's expectations. Take time to reflect on what truly matters to you and measure your growth based on that. Stop over-explaining yourself. You don't need to justify every decision you make. If you choose to change careers, take a break from social media, or prioritize your mental health, you don't owe anyone a long-winded explanation. People who respect you won't demand one, and those who do aren't entitled to it. Practice self-validation. The most powerful thing you can do is learn to validate yourself. Instead of waiting for someone to say, "You did a great job," tell yourself that. Instead of waiting for others to appreciate you, appreciate yourself. Self-government means recognizing your own worth without needing external reinforcement. Reduce your dependency on social media. Social media has made external validation more addictive than ever. We post something and within seconds, we check for likes, comments, and shares. The dopamine hit we get from approval keeps us coming back for more. But ask yourself, if I couldn't post about it, would I still enjoy it? If the answer is no, you're doing it for validation, not fulfillment. Try spending less time seeking approval online and more time being present in real life. Accept that not everyone will like you, and that's okay. One of the most liberating things you can realize is that you don't need to be liked by everyone. Some people won't understand you, and some won't agree with you. But that's fine. The right people, the ones who truly matter, will appreciate you for who you are, not for who you try to be. The freedom of letting go, when you detach from external validation, you step into a new level of confidence. You start making decisions based on your values, not others' expectations. You stop performing and start living. You stop fearing judgment and start embracing authenticity. And most importantly, you realize that the only validation you ever needed was your own. Life is full of challenges, some expected, some completely out of nowhere. No one is immune to hardship, failure, or obstacles. But what separates those who crumble under pressure from those who rise stronger is not the absence of challenges, it's the way they choose to see them. The way you frame your difficulties will determine how much power they have over you. The way you frame your difficulties will determine how much power they have over you. Most people view challenges as personal attacks. Why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? They see setbacks as signs of failure, barriers as punishments, and struggles as proof that life is unfair. But here's the truth. Your struggles are not here to break you. They are here to shape you. The sooner you reframe your perspective on challenges, the sooner you can transform obstacles into opportunities for growth. Your mindset shapes your reality. Imagine two people facing the exact same challenge. Let's say they both get laid off from their jobs. One person sees it as a disaster, falling into self-doubt and feeling like a failure. The other sees it as a chance to pivot, explore new opportunities, or even start their own business. The situation is the same, but their perspectives are completely different. One feels powerless, the other feels empowered. Your perception creates your reality. If you see challenges as roadblocks, they will stop you, but if you see them as lessons, they will strengthen you. Challenges are not punishments, they are lessons. Every difficulty in life carries a lesson. Sometimes the lesson is patience, sometimes it's resilience, sometimes it's learning to let go, but there is always something to gain if you are willing to look for it. Think back to a tough time in your life. Maybe it was a heartbreak, a failure, or a loss. At the time, it probably felt unbearable. But looking back, what did you learn from it? Did it make you stronger, wiser, more compassionate? Growth is rarely comfortable, but it is always valuable. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can this teach me? How can I grow from this? What skills, wisdom, or strength will I gain from this experience? Obstacles are often redirections. Sometimes what feels like a setback is actually a redirection towards something better. That relationship that ended, maybe it cleared the way for you to find someone who truly aligns with you. That job opportunity you didn't get, maybe it freed you up for a career path that better suits your passions. That failure you experienced, maybe it pushed you to develop skills that led to greater success later. Life has a way of guiding us where we need to go, but we don't always see it in the moment. What looks like rejection today might turn out to be protection tomorrow. Difficulties build resilience. Think of challenges like weightlifting. If you never lift anything heavy, your muscles never grow. But when you face resistance, when you push through difficulty, you become stronger. The same applies to your mind, your emotions, and your ability to handle life's ups and downs. Every time you overcome an obstacle, you build resilience. You prove to yourself that you can handle adversity. You develop problem-solving skills, emotional strength, and the confidence to face even bigger challenges in the future. Shift from victim to learner. The biggest shift you can make in your perspective is to stop seeing yourself as a victim of your circumstances and start seeing yourself as a learner. Victims say, life is unfair, this is happening to me. Learners say, this is tough, but I can grow from this. This doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. It means accepting reality and choosing to respond with strength rather than helplessness. Practical ways to reframe challenges change your internal dialogue. Instead of saying, this is the worst thing that could happen, try saying, this is difficult, but I will find a way through it. Instead of saying, I can't handle this, say, I am capable and I will figure this out. The words you use shape your mindset. Look for the silver lining. No matter how bad a situation is, there is something to be gained. Maybe it's a chance to reinvent yourself. Maybe it's a wake-up call to change direction. Maybe it's a deeper appreciation for life. Train your mind to find the lesson in every challenge. Focus on what you can control. Many challenges feel overwhelming because we focus on things outside of our control. Instead, ask yourself, what can I do right now? Taking small, actionable steps, even if they seem minor, gives you a sense of power over your circumstances. Remember past challenges you've overcome. This is not the first time you've faced difficulty, and it won't be the last. But you've survived every challenge before this, and you'll survive this one too. Remind yourself of how strong you already are. Surround yourself with the right people. The people around you influence how you see challenges. If you're surrounded by negativity, you'll feel defeated. If you're surrounded by people who believe in growth, resilience, and solutions, you'll feel empowered. Choose your company wisely. Emotional resilience is the ability to withstand, recover, and grow from life's challenges. It's what allows some people to navigate difficulties with strength, while others feel overwhelmed and stuck. The good news? Emotional resilience isn't something you either have or don't have. It's a skill you can build, refine, and strengthen over time. And like any skill, it requires daily practice. Resilience is not about ignoring emotions or pretending that hardships don't affect you. Instead, it's about learning how to process difficult experiences in a healthy way, regulate your emotions, and maintain a sense of inner stability no matter what life throws at you. Why emotional resilience matters. Life is unpredictable. Challenges, setbacks, and disappointments are inevitable. If you don't have emotional resilience, even small obstacles can feel overwhelming. But when you develop this skill, you're able to face difficulties without losing your balance. You become more adaptable, self-aware, and in control of your reactions. Emotionally resilient people bounce back faster from setbacks, manage stress effectively, stay calm under pressure, maintain optimism even in difficult times, have strong self-awareness and emotional regulation. Without resilience, people often fall into patterns of anxiety, burnout, and emotional exhaustion. The ability to navigate emotions effectively is one of the most valuable tools you can develop. How to build emotional resilience daily. Developing emotional resilience isn't about making one big change. It's about small, daily habits that strengthen your ability to cope with challenges. Here's how you can cultivate it consistently. 1, develop self-awareness. Before you can strengthen your resilience, you need to understand your emotions. Many people either suppress their emotions or let them take over completely. Emotional resilience requires balance. You acknowledge your feelings without becoming controlled by them. Check in with yourself daily. How am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? Identify emotional triggers. What situations or people cause stress or anxiety? Recognize unhealthy coping mechanisms. Do you distract yourself, lash out, or avoid emotions altogether? When you're aware of your emotional patterns, you can start managing them more effectively. 2, strengthen your emotional regulation skills. Resilience is not about avoiding negative emotions. It's about handling them in a healthy way. Learning how to regulate your emotions allows you to stay composed even in difficult situations. Pause before reacting. When something upsets you, take a breath before responding. This prevents emotional outbursts and helps you think more clearly. Practice mindfulness. Staying present in the moment reduces stress and prevents overthinking about past or future worries. Use grounding techniques. If you feel overwhelmed, engage your senses. Focus on what you can see, hear, touch, and smell to bring yourself back to the present. The more you practice emotional regulation, the better you'll become at handling challenges calmly and effectively. 3, dream big by reframing negative thoughts. Your thoughts have a direct impact on your emotions. If you constantly tell yourself, I can't handle this, or this is unfair, you will feel powerless. Resilient people shift their mindset to focus on growth rather than defeat. Instead of, this is happening to me, think, this is happening for me. What can I learn? Instead of, I always fail, think, this is a setback, not a final outcome. Instead of this is too hard, think this is a challenge, but I am capable. Reframing your perspective turns obstacles into opportunities for growth. 4, cultivate self-compassion. Many people are their own worst critics. They beat themselves up over mistakes, compare themselves to others, and hold themselves to impossible standards. But emotional resilience requires self-quitness. Talk to yourself like you would a friend. If a friend was struggling, you wouldn't criticize them, you'd offer support and encouragement. Do the same for yourself. Forgive yourself for mistakes. No one is perfect. Learn from failures instead of letting them define you. Prioritize self-care. Taking care of your physical and mental health is essential for resilience. When you treat yourself with kindness, you create an internal environment where resilience can thrive. Build a strong support system. Resilience doesn't mean handling everything alone. In fact, strong emotional resilience comes from knowing when to seek support. Surround yourself with people who uplift and encourage you. Talk to a trusted friend, mentor, or therapist when you need guidance. Set boundaries with toxic or negative individuals who drain your energy. Having a reliable support system strengthens your ability to bounce back from challenges.